Hey y'all, this is the Southern Girl's take on beef stroganoff. Hey y'all, we're gonna make beef stroganoff tonight. I make mine with a stew meat. You can also use ground beef if you would like, but tonight we're gonna do stew meat. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my water to boiling for my egg noodles. I use a extra wide egg noodle for this recipe. I'm gonna boil those in some real salty water, almost like the ocean salty water. In another pan, I'm going to heat up about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, avocado oil, because what I'm gonna do with my stew meat is I'm gonna lightly flour them, not heavy, but just lightly dust the stew meat with flour and salt and pepper. I'm gonna brown that on both sides and then I'm gonna take it off the pan. I'm gonna chop up a small to medium yellow onion. I always use sweet onion in what I cook. Don't ask me why, just always have. I like the flavor it adds. But you use whatever onion of choice you'd like, but I use about a smaller medium for this recipe. I'm also gonna chop up some mushrooms. These are white and baby Bella mushrooms. If you don't like mushrooms, you can certainly leave that part out. You're gonna boil your egg noodles for about 8 to 9 minutes, just until they're tender. So I'm just gonna brown this, like I said, in some avocado oil, olive oil, your oil of choice. I put a couple of tablespoons in here. You just wanna brown them on each side. Again, not heavy on the flour, just a little. I give my noodles a little stir about halfway through. You don't want them to stick to the bottom and you don't want them sticking together. So give it a little stir about halfway through. So my stew meat is brown on both sides. I'm gonna take it out of the pan. I've used a lean stew meat, so there's not a lot of grease or drippings in the pan. So in this case, I'm going to add a little bit of my beef broth to the pan because we're gonna add our mushrooms and onions to get those softened just a little bit. If you're using ground beef, you may have a little bit more drippings to it, but you don't want to put your onions or mushrooms into just a dry skillet. So I've got my beef broth in the pan. I'm just gonna get those leftovers from the meat in there, kind of stir them around, then let's add our onions and mushrooms. So you're just gonna coat these with your beef broth. And like I said, you don't wanna boil them or anything too crazy. You just wanna get your onions softened just a little bit. So I'm gonna say about 5 minutes or so. Let them suck up that beef broth. Be sure to drain your noodles and set them aside. While the onions and mushrooms are softening, I'm gonna add about a half a teaspoon of minced garlic. I do wanna say, if you don't have minced garlic, that's okay. You can use just a garlic powder. Don't go and buy a jar of minced garlic if it's not something that you use normally. I use minced garlic a lot in cooking, but you can certainly add garlic powder instead. So that looks about right. I'm going to turn down my heat to about medium, and I'm gonna add a teaspoon of flour to this. So I've added my teaspoon of flour. I'm gonna give that a stir, and then I'm gonna add my stew meat back into the pan. To this, I'm gonna add my can of cream of mushroom soup, and I'm gonna add 10 ounces, a 10-ounce can of beef broth. Say that 10 times. So I've got everything mixed up in my pan. Everything is well incorporated. I'm gonna turn it down on low and cover it and let this cook for about 30 minutes. Don't walk away from it for 30 minutes and not come back. I would stir it occasionally because you don't want it to get stuck to the bottom or for some reason cooked too hot, it will stick and burn. You don't want that. If for some reason it has used up all the liquid in cooking, add some more beef broth to this, or water. If you don't have any more beef broth, just add a little water to it. Okay, so I've got my meat and gravy, as you will call it, for the stroganoff cooking. It's going to cook 30 minutes on low. I'm going to wait to the very end of that 30 minutes before I add in the 2 tablespoons of butter and a cup of sour cream. Once that's done, it's going to be ready to serve over the noodles you cooked. If you don't want to use a noodle, you can also add mashed potatoes or rice. Do whatever your family prefers. We're going to do the extra wide egg noodles. I'm going to hop off here. I'm going to make some southern corn straight from Tennessee. That's going to be for another video, but that's what we're going to have with this tonight. Okay, our time is up. Our 30 minutes is up on our meat and gravy. I've added the sour cream. I've got the butter in there. You're going to mix this well, and then you're just going to, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. You don't need to really cook it anymore. You just kind of want that to get around in there and like each other a little bit, and then you're ready to serve it over noodles, mashed potatoes, rice, whatever you choose. Doesn't that look good? Look at that gravy. And there you have it, guys. This is dinner tonight for us. There's your beef stroganoff. I've used beef tips or stew meat chunks. I've got some fresh corn and a salad. And that's what's for dinner. Y'all have a blessed evening. We'll talk soon.